Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Irina. Today I'm going to show you a very interesting object, which is one of the pieces of evidence proving that the Viking diaspora was engaged in very interesting activities and also proving their very rich cultural contact to other cultures. So we have a lion statue. You can see it in the picture, the Piraeus lion. It is a statue nowadays displayed at the Arsenale in Venice, in Venezia. But before, it was one of the lions guarding the famous port of Athens. That's why it's called like this. So it's made out of white marble. It was probably made up in about 360 BC, and it was stolen from where it used to stand during the Greek-Ottoman wars. It was stolen as a booty by naval commander, pretty famous one, Francesco Morosini, in 1687. This guy is also famous for having destroyed the Parthenon, which used to hold the gunpowder of the Ottomans, and it was blown up. And everyone was pretty excited about that because when he returned to Venice, he was made a doge. All right, so he also took these two lions with him, and as a curiosity, they just stood there for a while without anyone trying to decipher what was written on one of them. So people most definitely noticed that one of the lions bore a strange inscription, but yeah, I'm not sure if anyone was able to read it. This happens when a Swedish scholar in the 18th century comes around and visits the place and sees the runes on one of the beast's shoulders. We do indeed have two runic inscriptions here. They are on this ribbon-shaped serpent, which was actually a pretty common way of making an inscription in the Viking Age. Well, interesting as it might sound, the fact that we have the Viking alphabet on this Greek statue, the runes are extremely hard to decipher because they are washed up. They are washed up and very damaged by the weather mainly, and also by this very twisted history of the statue. There have been two attempts to decipher the runes, one made in the second half of the 19th century by Karl Ravn and a Danish scholar, and the other one made by Erik Brahe at the beginning of the 20th century. And the way they interpret the inscriptions were actually pretty different because runes can be written from left to right and from right to left, also downwards, upwards, so it's pretty difficult to decide on a form. And you also have to bear in mind that some letters are missing because the younger Futhark has fewer letters than its older version, so you have to look at the linguistic context in order to decipher the inscription. All right, so the Ravn's inscription would sound like this. I'm going to quote directly from the English translation. So he says that Osmund carved these runes along with Osgeir and Thorleif, Thord and Ivar at the request of Harald the Tall, though the Greeks thought about it and forbade it. Håkon, along with Ulf and Osmund and Odin, won the seaport. These men with Harald the Tall imposed a fine because of the uprising of the Greeks. Dalk remains against his will, captive in distant lands, and Egil went on a journey with Ragnar to Romania and Armenia. Romania is here to be understood as some part of the Byzantine Empire because the Byzantines themselves were considered themselves to be Romans. They were Greek-speaking Romans, so the legitimate heirs of the Roman Empire. Yeah, so he basically names all these characters and potential conflicts with the local Greek population. All right, on the other hand, we have Erik Brahe, whose inscription seems to be more accepted by scholars nowadays. He says, on the other hand, that they cut him down in the midst of the forces, but in the harbour the men cut runes by the sea in memory of Horsi, a good warrior, The Swede set this on the lion. He went his way with good counsel. Gold he won in his travels. The warriors cut runes, placed them in an ornamental scroll, and then Oskel and others, Thorleif maybe, had them well cut, those who lived in Roslagen. Then some other undeciphered names cut these runes. Ulv and another name colored them in the memory of Horzi. He won gold in his travels. So as you can see, we have different characters here. Horzi versus Harald. Harald the Tall. Yeah, Karl Rav might have been mistaken here if he referred to Harald Hardrodi, so the famous Harald the Hard ruler, the one involved in the battle at Stamford Bridge in 1066 on British grounds, because his activity was actually earlier, or a tad earlier than the inscription. Yeah, so that would be basically it. Difficult to tell what it was about, but either way, we have, let's say, as a conclusion for both possible interpretations of the inscription, the fact that there were definitely some people involved here, and these were members of the Varangian Guard, the famous Varangian Guard, the Scandinavians who served the Byzantine emperors as mercenaries. They were known in Constantinople as being very fierce and very loyal. They were called the axe-bearing barbarians, and the one who first used them is Emperor Basileios Porphyrogenetos, Basil II, against a usurper, Bardas Phokas, and then the Byzantine emperors were like, you know, these people are really good at their jobs. Maybe we should keep them. Which they did, and it was pretty useful. It was also very useful for the Scandinavians themselves, and we have a couple of runic inscriptions in Scandinavia actually mentioning some of these people. So, for example, we have in southeastern Uppland a very large boulder where Ragnvald writes. Well, he writes in honor of his mother, who is, you know, dead, and he wants to raise the stone in her memory, as people usually did with runestones. But he takes advantage of this and brags a little bit about what he did. And he says in the inscription that he was in Greece, he served in Greece, so in the Byzantine Empire, where he was the commander of his group. So this guy was really, at some point, the commander of the Varangian Guard. We also have, yeah, an anonymous one about someone who fell in Greece, so yeah, not as lucky as Ragnvald, and a few more. So yeah, there you go, a great piece of evidence for these multiple cultural and military contacts and collaborations. And of course, we also have the inscription at Hagia Sophia on one of the walls. It's only a name, Halfdan. We don't really know if he was a mercenary or not. He might have just been a merchant. But yeah, by just scribbling his name on the cathedral, he pretty much won his fair share of eternity. Yeah. If you found this piece of information interesting, please like and subscribe, or write me a comment about further topics you would be interested in, and I will try to comply. Other than that, thank you very much for watching and listening, and wish you all a great day. Follow me for some more interesting pieces on the fascinating Viking Age.